So let's go and create API app registration for our app. So let's call it MongoDB app, and that's it. We just go ahead and register. Now there are a few things we have to do. One of the first thing we got to do is we have to expose at least one scope, right? So before that we have to set the URI. So I'm setting it as the same as my app service URL. So, but it can be anything else. Okay. Add a scope. Now we need at least one scope in here. So I'm going to say employee.org. Now it can, if you want, you can have a different scope for read, different scope for write, different scope for let's say delete if you want to do that. But in this case, I'm not utilizing scope for any authorization purpose. We're going to use roles for authorization, not the scope. But I'll show you how you can utilize it at the end. And I'll pause the video while I fill this form. Okay, so now in this one, the name is important, employees.all, because this is what our client app, which is in case, in our case, is Postman, which will send this scope along with the request for token. Another fields are you can fill whatever you want, but these are mandatory fields. So we are saying we are allowing all operations. So accrued on employees, allow all operations on employee data and all that. So we add this scope. Once we have added the scope, another thing we have to update in the manifest is we are utilizing version 2 of endpoints, and this is something that we have to update. And what I mean by endpoints is this, right? So these are the OAuth 2 endpoints that we will be utilizing in our Postman to send the request for tokens, right? So over 2.0 we are using version 2, and that's why we have to specify the version 2. Now once this is done, we can go back to our MongoDB app and we can add the authentication, which was not set earlier, right? So let's enable it. So we say require authentication, save this, and now we add the provider. Here we pick up an existing app that we registered, right? So there was MongoDB app, we register this and we don't have to do anything else, we just go ahead and save it. Now once this is done, we have to create another app for our client, which is Postman, so that client can authenticate to the AD. And for that we'll create a new app, and this is the front end app, you can see Postman. And now here on the web we have to provide the Postman callback URL, which you can check in this video here, right? And I'll also mention this in the blog, and then we just say register. So now the app is created. What we need from here is the client ID and the client secret, so that our Postman can send a request. Okay, so client ID is here. We go ahead and create a secret, and this we are doing in a Postman. Okay. And we create a secret. Let's call it Postman. We copy this. We go back to our Postman. All right, I'm going to do it a couple of times. Processed. And now same we do with the client ID, and client ID we will get it from the overview screen. Now, as I said, in this one, what we have specified is we need a bearer token, right? Which will go in as a header prefix. We need access token name. Authorization code is the grant type. Postman is the callback URL. Auth URL and the token URL are the ones that I showed you. And if you go to the Postman and we want a client ID, these endpoints from the client app. So these are the two endpoints, authorization as well as a token. These are the first two endpoints that we need, and we have to copy them in the postman. So now let's send a request. I'm already logged in as a, let's clear it actually. So now I will be asked to log in. All right, so if you see there is an error, let's go ahead and see what the error is, and we can go view that in a console. Right, so what you see that invalid client error description asked for a scope employee.read that does not exist. Okay, and if you remember from our setup, we did not use client.read, we used employee.all, right? And if you see here, it is employee.read. This is from my previous setup. So we'll change it to employee.all. And so we go ahead and now ask for new access token. So you see the scopes are important so that the client sends the same, right? Now this says that this needs an admin approval, right? So let's say if we don't want to grant this, let the admin do it. And we go here and we see that this is the admin only grant, right? So a user cannot approve this. So we can update this. And let's say admin and users. All right. So now if we go back to our application and we ask for a token, right? So you see this page now has come, right? So it is asking a user for consent, which earlier was only to be given by admin. But now I can, as a user, can consent for this application's permissions, and I'll say go ahead and accept. And now I've got a token. Okay, so this is my token, and I'll just copy this and I'll show you the details of the token. Control C, and we say use token, right? So now Postman has set this token up for any of our request. So if I go there and call in, first we'll try with a no authentication, and let's see what happens. Right, so it is not authorized. Let me try with the authentication. Inherit from the folder, and right, so we get 200. Okay, right, and we can run the whole collection at the moment. Let's run it. Right, so this reader user is able to access all the endpoints still, right? But now at least with an authentication. So he needs a token, but without authentication it's not working. But rollback is still not there, right? So authentication is not there, but authorization is still not present, and we'll fix that in the next video. But before we close this video, I'll show you the token details. For that, you can go to all right, so I'll paste the token here. You see that the name is name of the user is reader, right? Preferred name is the email address and everything. The scope is also defined, right? Scope is employee.all. What you do not see anything related to the user role, right? And that is something that we are going to inject in our next video, and that is going to be the difference in between authentication, which is happening right now, and authorization, which will fixed in the next video. Okay, thanks for watching.